seu nome. No Discord, eu quero ver. Vamos jogar. Bora jogar. Foi bom? Meu Deus. Seis e 34. Vou colocar 35. Vamos jogar esse Street Fighter, mulher. Meu Deus, o que eu fiz com o chat? Pera. Cadê o chat? Ah, tá aqui. Ai, que susto do caralho. Quem ganhou? Porque o Leffen... Quem é o Leffen? O mal venceu, ele é filho da puta? O humano mais maligno? Como assim? Ele é maligno mesmo? Ah, inclusive... Quem puder lá engajar no rios que eu postei hoje no Instagram. Inclusive, eu aceito ideia de rios que vocês querem que eu grave e tal. Mandem no Discord ou no grupo de subs, tá? Antes de começar, posso dizer uma coisa. Obrigado por ter ajudado a loja nas 2 vezes que você iniciou o jogo. Muitas pessoas não levam esse passo a sério. Elas simplesmente deixam a loja definida das 12 e nem ligam para isso. Mas você está tomando o tempo necessário para acertar o relógio. E eu aprecio isso. Por causa disso, eu sei que você se importa com essa experiência. Que você está prestando atenção. Eu não tenho como saber se a hora que você definiu está correta. Sabe de uma coisa? Eu vou propor um acordo. Já que você cooperou tanto, da próxima vez que você iniciar o jogo e vir essa tela, pode ajustar o relógio para a sua hora favorita. Oi, Baljuicer! Reggaeton. Vai em frente, escolhe uma hora que quiser, mesmo que não seja a hora certa, você mereceu. Tudo bem, vou deixar você voltar a jogar o jogo agora. Queer? Michelle, muito obrigada pelos 10 reais, amor. Muito obrigada.
Michelle Melody donated 10 Brazilian reals.
Stanley.
Hello, Everinian.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee.
E assim,
number
Gaga, eu quero
427.
jogar Guilty Gear.
Employee number
Eu vou mandar fazer o
427's
cosplay da
job was
Bridget.
simple.
E
He
aí,
sat at
tipo,
his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons.
eu quero começar a jogar o
Orders
cosplay
came to
dela.
him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push.
Tá, isso aqui a gente já viu.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Tá, eu vou ignorar. Eu quero entrar naquela porta vermelha. Tem uma porta vermelha que eu só ignorei aquela vez. Quero X1,
When Stanley
bora.
came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the
Oi,
first open door
Lobo!
on his
Tudo bom,
left.
amor? Não.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he
Oi,
wasn't
pão com
5 years
queijo.
ago.
Tô tão frequentemente quanto um comentário no Twitch, mas precisa lembrar que você é perfeita. Obrigada, amor. Obrigada, linda, pela mensagem.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please.
What? Really?
I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to
Estavam
happen to
dando no
you?
robô ruim
Why-
do Pokémon.
I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Qual o jogo que estavam dando 1000 de graça?
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Estavam dando 1000?
Perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Não.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Ai, tá bom.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here.
Cara, esse
Running,
mapa
running and running,
tem uma
just the way
vibe
you're doing
muito
right
Silent
now.
Hill pra mim. Que,
Don't you
tipo,
see that it's killing us, Stanley?
aqui nessa esquina, imagina que vai ter uma pessoa ou um monstro que vai pular em cima de mim.
We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you. What do we want? What are we looking
Perderam o
for?
1000 agora pra você treinar ele. Que bonitinho. Onde é que eu tô? Isso é...
Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Que lugar
If we
é esse?
just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
O que tá acontecendo, chat? Eu faço o quê? Bateu muito forte, mulher. Ai. Meu Deus. É assim que a gente fica quando a gente usa LSD?
Não.
Oi, mas... Ah, tu já usou. Oi, Marcel, tudo bom? Eu fiz uns 3. Pausa. Ah, o Rick já fez muita coisa. Zé Droguinha? Ah, tá. Bem vivido, assim. Ele já se jogou num canal na França. Qual é o nome do canal que você jogou?
Sim, mas não foi... Foram momentos diferentes.
Tá, é, sim. Mas ele nadou... Ele se jogou num canal porque ele tava bêbado. Mas ele só se jogou... Ai, quem nunca, né? Henrique, você não é Henrique, gente. Radical, ele, aham.
Atleta, tava fazendo uma prova de natação.
De madrugada. Ele é tão atleta que os amigos dele viram ele se jogando, aí viram a polícia chegando e o que os amigos dele fizeram? Se esconderam debaixo da ponte com um mendigo. Não foram ajudar o amigo, ficaram comendo. E depois o Coragem enxergando isso aqui. Aí é foda. É. Amigo como esses pra que inimigos, não é mesmo? Gente, eu acho que eu vou ter uma good trip aqui. Vocês querem ter uma good trip comigo? Será que dá um final ficar observando isso? Isso aqui é visão de míope, tá? Que é desfocada. Nossa, tem que ficar 4 horas apertando o botão. Mulher, mas eu vou colocar 4 horas e eu vou tirar meu fone, tá? Porque eu não quero ficar a criança... Será que essa é a última? Porque não tá formando outra luz. Será que é assim que a gente vê quando a gente é, tipo, abduzido? Quem acredita em ET, no caso?
Não.
Ai, porra! Como onde você foi abduzido? Você foi abduzido, Henrique? Não, porque ele respondeu com muita propriedade.
Não sei de nada.
Tem uma celinha. Ai, acabou? Acabou a vibe? Ah, vamos ali na celinha, então.
No, wait. Where are you going? Right. Where were we?
Ai, desculpa, moça. Não. Não.
Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Oi, Lupicupi. Carol, muito obrigada por fazer 7 meses. Saudades, amor. Oi, Flavinho.
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
Eu tenho que me matar? Tá, mas aquela vez que eu me matei foi sem querer. Ai, como é que tá teu braço?
Good, good. We can't be too safe. Promise me you won't go back there. Just stay here.
Ah, não tem como cair? Ai, gente. Mas eu tô usando uma coisa de novo. Gente, eu vou me matar. Eu não vou ficar 4 horas parada ali.
No. What do we talk about? You're risking everything we achieved here.
Ai, desculpa. Boring.
You hurt me before, didn't you? You will die. What about this isn't getting through to you?
Tá, mas eu não vou ficar lá parada, moço. Você quer ficar parada ficando 4 horas vendo coisa? Me desse alguma coisa pra comer.
No! Oh,
Ai, tô viva.
thank God. You lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room?
Que outras... Caralho, ele tá discutindo com ela. Ai, por que ele quer que eu fique aqui parada vendo luz?
There. See? This is what you want. This is where we can both be happy. We really can. If we stop moving, we just have to stop moving.
Você tá me achando puta? Não.
Stanley, go back. There's nothing good that can come from this. No. No, no. What do you just not believe me? What can I say to convince you?
Me tira daqui. Pra me convencer. Eu não vou ficar aqui parada. Eu, hein? Oh. Black.
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
Não. Não vou fazer isso por ti, não.
My God. Is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly?
Então me tira daqui. Mas eu não morro?
Maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask.
Ai, dá
It
peninha.
looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours. Is it over?
Morri.
It's going to restart, isn't it?
Ai,
I'm going
gente.
back.
Que final triste. Que final triste. Tá, agora vamos fazer o final que ele diz. Eu vou fazer
All of
tudo o
his
que ele quer.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Vamos ver o que ele quer.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Meu Deus. Ah. Essa é a empresa do Henrique?
O que eu vou dizer?
Ele que fez essa reunião? Aham, foi ele. Que isso?
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned round, and got back on track. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Tá. Pera, o que é isso aqui? É o banheiro? Ai, que banheiro feio. Isso aqui é o quê? Meu Deus, que horror! Estratégia de negócio. Tá, mas vamos fazer o que ele quer agora. Cara, não tem ninguém aqui.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him, and so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Ai, que desconforto. São quantos sinais pra chegar lá? Gaga. Eventualmente tu acha, mulher?
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Tá.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control
Que
Facility.
porra é essa? Escape. Parece aquela salinha do Professor Xavier no primeiro filme do X-Men, sabe?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Ai, que medo. Só falta o capacete, exato.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building.
Meu
Stanley's
Deus, que horror.
co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Ai, gente. Você tem certeza que esse jogo não é de terror, não?
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Apenas se o seu terror for a realidade. Ai, mas é que é meio...
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Ai, que é isso?
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Tá, mas eu faço o quê? Mind control status offline. Mas isso aqui dá pra apertar 5 vezes. Ai.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Off. Deu em algo? Gente.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
Tem rato falando contigo.
Não, eu usei uma coisa.
Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine! Unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Essa da frente mesmo? Ah!
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation. the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now,
Desculpa.
things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Ah! Terminei. Cara, como é que eu vou descobrir?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Ai, meu Deus. Ai, onde é que eu tô indo? Ai, que nervoso dá. Ai, não. O que tá acontecendo?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable
Ah, é verdade.
Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over.
Que bonitinho.
Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Tá bom. O que tem aqui, ó?
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Ué?
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving
found
somewhere?
the bomb.
Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Tá bem, amor.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
O que eu tô fazendo? Tem outro jogo desse?
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to
the
say,
beginner's guide.
initial impressions of this game are not positive.
Não sabia
It's just
disso.
elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Tá. Thank you for the joint.
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, test achievement, please ignore. What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Huh? What?
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Meu Deus.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look. I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
Ai, eu acho muito bonitinho essas cabanas, assim, sabe? Com telhado em triângulo. Acho muito bonitinho. Eu e Henrique, a gente tá combinando de fazer um piquenique.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
The good times. Sorria porque aconteceu. Unachievable. It's impossible to get this achievement. Saiu no New York Times? Ou isso é zoeira? Esse jogo realmente saiu? Tipo, teve matéria? Ah, pensei que dava pra ficar aqui.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this
Stanley,
stunning triumph of games journalism. 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim. It was Persona 3. It was all of them. And now, it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk. with an hour of new elevator content.
Ué. É que, tipo, tinha matéria do New York Times e tal. Que é isso? Know your city. Ah, tá. Ah, que bonitinho.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com.
Meu Deus.
The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Carpet textures. Eh? Tá, mas The Serious Room.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
What? A review é real, mulher. Esse aqui não dá pra ver direito.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy, honestly, you can.
Oi, João, eu
Oh,
também
goodness.
amorei
This is actually
você.
quite shocking for me.
Já te respondo.
I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought
Aqui
of
tá
the
a
game's
filhozinha,
dialogue
tá?
as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Dear, what an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Ai, tadinho. Oi, Paula. Tudo bom, amor? Boa noite.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes.
Ah, sim.
Yes, I think we can do that.
Skip button
If I'm
é
truly
bom.
too preachy, then Then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment surely it
Principalmente
couldn't
em
hurt.
Genshin a gente
Not
precisava
if it
disso,
means
né?
we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Meu Deus, eu tenho que pular? Que é isso?
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that
Ai,
the second my
chocolate
incessant
quente.
droning starts to bore you,
queria
with
tanto.
just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, until 245. That the logic of elimination working
Mulher,
backwards,
eu tô com pena do
becomes
narrador.
impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday,
Onde é que
here and
você é,
there,
Paula?
forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say
Ah,
the
Recife.
story and the choices,
Eu quero muito
or what
visitar
have you,
Recife.
and therefore by
Dia.
becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably
Gente, esse
all
narrador.
until the end of time, at which time everything
Ai,
all at
apenas
once.
eu
So
mesmo, como é que
now
você
you
tá?
see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture.
eu tô
It went
muito
on for
tentada a
nearly
apertar esse botão.
10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say the story and the choices, or what have you, and
Ai,
therefore by
desculpa,
becoming it
narrador,
is, so on and so
desculpa.
forth, until
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature
Não,
of choice
eu
in
não
video
tanquei.
games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are or were or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a
Desculpa.
well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review.
Gente,
Or at
ele não
least change some of
para.
the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't
Saúde.
even know if one can change their review. in the first place.
Saúde.
I guess I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works. Perhaps that would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, surely whoever it is
Tira
runs
daqui.
Steam will instantly run out and implement a new feature to make it possible to edit one's review, merely because of this very situation. Yes, I think that's quite likely.
Desculpa.
Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes. It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it?
Chega.
But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again.
Deu
I
a
think the
porta.
skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Where did the door go?
Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button, to go anywhere other than the skip button. There was a door here before, wasn't there? I swear there was. Where did it go? Can you maybe just ram your way through a wall? Is there any possibility that you could, say, slam your body into the wall until enough damage is done for you to be able to leave? Please, I'll take any option at all. I'm asking you to work with me here. We need a door. We need a door of some kind. I can work with any kind of door as long as it can open and lead from one room to another. I'm going to step away
Gente, a
for
minha
just a
empatia por ele
moment,
tá
and I'm going to
morrendo.
try to find us a door.
A minha
I
empatia por
don't
ele
know
tá
how
morrendo.
exactly to remove a door and place it in a different wall,
Básica
but I
claustrofobia.
will find a way, I promise. You just need to not do anything. Don't press the skip button. Please, please, please do not press the skip button. Just wait here for me, and don't press the skip button. Got it? Yes, good. I'll be right back.
Ai, meu Deus. Ai, não.
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks? I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you... Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret.
No.
There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days,
Oi, ventilador da
months.
Yuka, tudo
I
bom?
lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced.
Chega. Eu só queria uma porta. Eu só queria uma porta pra sair daqui. Uma porta. Uma porta. Uma. Meu Deus. Eu vou pular de novo. Não, não é de terror, amor. Não é de terror. É um jogo meio comédia, assim.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of our... But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley Parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person at every moment in time. If someone wants it, then it's a crime not to bring it into being. Have we been given to indulging every fleeting whim for no reason other than to do so? Yes! Yes! It seems that this is now the world we live in. It seems that we are a people living in such bleakness and discomfort with ourselves that our entertainment is now our lives. It has come to represent us. It absolutely must speak to who we are as people, because otherwise, without our entertainment, we have nothing. Without entertainment, we would have to face inward toward the cruel bleakness inside ourselves. We would turn to look at our deeper nature and find a resounding emptiness gazing back with unyielding aggression. And so because of this, we require that our amusements and our playthings and our flights of fancy be so impossibly captivating that they consume all of our attention, turn our heads completely away from the bleakness. In effect, we have demanded that our entertainment be the collapse of ourselves. What a pitiful reflection of humanity these entertainments are. What a shameful mirror to the human spirit they project. I'm not mad. I'm not mad about any of this. I'm at peace with it. I am the calm center of gravity around which these perversions hurl themselves. I am a waypoint for reasonable and collected discourse. They're the ones who are mad. They're the ones who couldn't stand the idea of me using my game to try to say something. Maybe they were just jealous of me. Yes, of course. They've been jealous of me this whole time. They are mired in fear and insecurity and cannot help but attempt to tear me down. What a sad state of affairs. When you read these reviews now, you can see it. You can taste the bitter resentment. And my, how good does it feel now to speak truth to these words, to finally allow these thoughts out, contained and managed for so long, neutered and sterilized. At last I am free to truly think, to feel. It must be that they were so...
Não tem uma saída, gente, é sério, não tem uma saída. Eu vou ficar aqui presa pra sempre. Uma escadinha, um negocinho pra sair daqui.
The end is never the end, 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 is never the...
Eita, encanação. Encanamento. Tá vazando? Encanação. Hã? Abriu. Ai, que é isso? Ai, meu Deus do céu. Eu pensei que era uma linha gigante, desculpa. Ai, não tem como pular no cano, não. Eita, amor. Desculpa por estar desejando desse jeito. Como é que eu saio daqui? A escada, não tem como pegar? Daí lá pra fora? Tá pelo outro lado. Eu preciso pegar essa escada. Cara! Ai, que lindo. Eu quero sair daqui, caralho. Ai, que medo. Ai, uma saída. Ai, eu vou colocar SUS pra resgatar por Pix, mulher. Vou colocar essa semana. Por Pix e por Bits. Gente, onde é que eu tô? Onde é que eu tô? Acabou?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
New content. Deixa eu fazer o outro, peraí.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ai, tem um elevador lá em cima.
Yet there was
também.
not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's
gostei,
office,
mulher, mas eu fiquei com
Stanley was
medo.
once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad,
assim,
Stanley
tudo
happened to
ótimo com
input the
você,
correct
mãe.
code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Eu vou naquele lugar de escapar. Esse jogo é de quê? Ansiedade. Não, eu não sei, tipo, eu não sei explicar Stanley Parable.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Eu vou morrer?
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Que é isso? Eu me matei. Ah, não morri não.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Não! Meu Deus, tem como pular? Ai!
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated, as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Hã? É uma narradora agora?
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Gente, o que tá acontecendo?
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Ah, esse é o design. Planta do escritório. Essa planta mostra o escritório no início do jogo. O caminho do escritório de Stanley até as 2 portas foi a primeira parte do jogo a ser projetada. Durante o processo de desenvolvimento, outras seções foram adicionadas e alteradas, embora a planta principal permaneça quase idêntica à primeira versão. Corredor. O ritmo dessa sessão de abertura era crucial para o jogo. Este corredor foi movido e alterado para garantir que o jogador pudesse chegar às 2 portas no momento certo. As 2 portas. O conjunto de 2 portas abertas foi a primeira peça concreta do design de Stanley Parable. Assim que essa sala foi criada, o resto do jogo surgiu como uma extensão dela, como a exploração da contradição representada para essa sala. Armário de arquivo. Oi, Matheus! Que bom que você gostou, amor. O escritório. Sons dos botões. Uma seleção de sons usados ao longo do jogo quando os botões são pressionados. Cada som é uma mistura de um toque de tecla, um tom sintetizado. O escritório, sala de manutenção. Uma versão inicial da sala de manutenção. Nossa, eu me sinto no Louvre. Zona de guerra. No início do desenvolvimento, projetamos um final em que Stanley acabaria em um campo de batalha lutando contra alienígenas. O jogo de ação ganharia consciência e declararia guerra contra o narrador. Logo após começarmos sua construção, percebemos que era algo jocoso e irônico demais para o tom do jogo. Além disso, algumas pessoas interpretariam isso como se fosse uma forma de tirar sarro dos fãs de jogos de tiro, que não era a nossa intenção. Isso é uma pedra. E-mails para o narrador. Após o segundo trailer que divulgamos, pedimos às pessoas que enviassem perguntas por e-mail ao narrador, embora o plano inicial fosse usar esses materiais promocionais adicionais. Nunca chegamos a encontrar uma forma perfeita de aproveitá-los. Aqui está uma seleção desses e-mails. Tá. O lounge, uma versão inicial da sala dos funcionários, escritórios. Ai, que susto. O elevador de carga. A segunda versão corresponde à mesma do jogo final, mas queremos fazer com que parecesse mais um lugar onde realmente se armazenassem cargas. Elevador de carga. O objetivo do elevador de carga sempre foi oferecer a opção de permanecer nele ou saltar para um caminho diferente. No entanto, após essa versão inicial, decidimos adicionar também a opção de cair e morrer. Esse final que eu tô aqui? Planta da sala de manutenção. Era importante expor os corredores corretamente após as duas portas, pois os jogadores passaram por eles várias vezes. Discutimos diversos designs, mas no final foi a versão mais simples que conquistou a todos. Nossa, que foda! Alavancas do finalzinho. Essas alavancas eram originalmente uma parte do finalzinho. O jogador puxaria uma alavanca e o narrador diria a cor da alavanca acionada. Essa captura de tela mostra uma versão inicial do final conhecido como finalzinho, que acabou sendo cortado e mesclado com outra parte do jogo. Finalzinho. Modelo do finalzinho. O finalzinho passou por várias alterações. Essa sala representa a quarta versão do final e pensamos que estava concluído, mas decidimos abandoná-los e alterá-la novamente para o lançamento. Nós lançamos 4 trilhas principais ao longo do desenvolvimento do jogo, cada uma com a intenção de apresentar o aspecto do espírito do jogo. Este é o primeiro, lançado em maio de 2012. Eles vivem uma série de celas incompletas e a voz do narrador informando os espectadores que ele está reparando a nova versão para o Stanley Parable. Ai, a sala do botão. Ah, gente, mas esses trailers, assim, à primeira vista parece um jogo de terror. Ui! Parece muito um jogo de terror. O cronômetro do apartamento. Em uma versão anterior da escolha que levava ao final do apartamento, um cronômetro dava 15 segundos para o jogador atender o telefone. Caso o jogador não atendesse o telefone, isso levaria a um final diferente. É, as salas todas escuras. Deixa eu lá para baixo, porque tem um lado que eu não fui ver. Escritório do chefe. Mais desenvolvimento do escritório do chefe. Zona subterrânea. Uma versão final. Ah, tá. Escape room.
You had even the most fundamental understanding of good and bad game design.
Gravações cortadas de narração. Kevin Bright, uma voz que dá voz ao narrador, gravou diálogos de todo o jogo cerca de 3 vezes ao longo dos 2 anos de desenvolvimento. Essas são gravações de tomadas iniciais que foram usadas ao jogo final. Oi, Michu, tudo bom? Final Liberdade, isso foi a primeira destinação do Final da Liberdade na versão alfa do jogo. Mesa de contagem regressiva. Uma das mesas da versão inicial do final da contagem regressiva. Elevador da sala de monitores. Para um tempo, o elevador da sala de monitores podia subir ou descer. Acima estava a liberdade e abaixo estava a contagem regressiva. Desistimos disso quando os jogadores achavam muito difícil lembrar o que havia acima e o que havia embaixo. Então decidimos colocar os 2 finais juntos. Sala de contagem regressiva. Aqui é a saída. Escritório do Stanley. Da esquerda para a direita, a evolução do escritório do Stanley ao longo do tempo. O primeiro foi criado em novembro de 2011, o segundo em março de 2012 e o terceiro em fevereiro de 2013. Se der aula hoje vai me fazer muito feliz, tá? É esse beijo. Mas eu não vou dar aula hoje, eu acho, mulher. Ou dou, não sei. Eu acho que hoje eu entro na IP, mas pra dar aula não. Enviou Dave, autoriza uma espécie de proposta grande. Oi, Xandinho. Mas como a Ludovica tá presa, a Yulia não tem mais aula pra dar. Mulher. Obrigada, Afonso. Mas eu entro na repair.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one
Tá bom,
another.
lindo.
How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Ai, eu gostei da narradora. Eu queria ela mais. Eu
Can
queria
you
ela...
see?
Eu
Can you
queria ela
see how
mais.
much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time...
O que eu tinha que fazer ali? Ela disse que era pra eu quitar do jogo. É isso? Ai, eu não acredito.
Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
Eu não sabia que era...
When Stanley came to a
será
set
que
of
tem que
two
fazer
open
aquilo de
doors,
novo?
he entered the door on his left.
Ou não? Sim,
Yet there
tipo,
was not
ali
a
na
single
hora
person here either.
era pra eu quitar?
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs
não foi
to
a
his
primeira
boss's office.
Ah, não faz diferença que tá ali não. Ah, tá bom. Então eu vou ligar o botão lá de
The
controlar a
moment he
mente.
entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take. Too much for any man to take. He fell to his knees, bursting into half
Foi a do
moans,
museu, isso.
half sobs, the guttural retching of life from a man denied any hope, any reason to keep going. Here on the floor he lay prone, paralyzed by fear for nearly a full hour. But when at last he began to move about and survey the situation, he found a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could it mean? Was it a sign of hope for Stanley's future?
Ah,
Alas, it was
entendi.
not. For although this keypad guarded the terrible secret of Stanley's past, it had been assigned a 4-digit code so devious
Nossa, mas
and
eu
so
gostei da
random that no
narradora, eu
man
queria
could
mais
ever hope to
ela.
guess it. 28.
Porque parece que ela quer te
45.
ajudar.
Statistically, nearly impossible to guess blindly. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Ok, a gente vai fazer esse mais final e eu acho que eu vou pro solo kill. Ou eu faço mais outro final. Ai, é que eu fico muito tentada a ficar fazendo tudo. São quantos finais que esse jogo tem?
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Quantos finais que eu devo ter feito? Nossa, eu não cheguei nem na metade, eu acho.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen. And Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe.
Eu quero
it
saber o que
couldn't be
aconteceu com as
true.
outras
Had Stanley
pessoas.
really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had
Jogar
been
pouquinho.
manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Tá. Eu vou
Here
apertar
was the
on.
proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content.
Ai, tem
Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to
Oi,
sink
Luxana.
in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never
Cadê o
again
três?
exert its terrible power over another human life. For
Cadê o
he
cinco?
would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Esse aqui é o 3. Ah, o 4 tá ali. Como é que eu subo? Como é que eu subo pro 4? Não, tá trancada a porta. Acontece algo quando eu aperto as ordens dos botões? Não tem como subir lá. E se eu descer aqui? Mind control. Ah, não.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place. Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate
Oi,
the
Laura,
controls, did
tudo
you?
bom?
After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need
Eu
to
também, amor, eu
understand, there's
também.
only so much that
Confusa
machine can
jogando,
do.
mas eu também.
You were supposed to let it go. Turn the
Let it
controls
go,
off and
let it
leave.
go. Nossa,
If you
quando-
want to throw my story
Tempo
off
eu não
track,
contava
you're going to have to do much better
essa
than that.
música.
I'm afraid you don't have
Obrigada,
nearly the
mãe.
power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me,
Filho da
where we're
puta.
going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? One solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you
Chega
made
até eu vou
humble.
ali comer contigo na sala.
This is not a challenge, it's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy
Gente,
it
eu quero-
first. So
A
you
empatia que eu tinha nesse
take a look
narrador
at the
filho da
clock, Stanley.
puta.
That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Estou puta. Tem telefone tocando.
Hi, Stanley. Just wanted to leave you a message to let you know there's a few things I need you to pick up on your way home from work today. We need milk, cereal, dish soap, spaghetti, get a thing of sugar, some bread, and coffee beans, whichever ones you like. I'll give you a call if there's anything I forgot. Thanks, sweetie. See you tonight.
Eu vou esperar a comida do Henrique chegar, que daí a gente vai jantar junto, daí eu volto e a gente vai pro solo kill. O que acontece quando eu pegar aquele elevador?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Agora eu já tô nervosa.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
O que eu entendi, tipo assim, é que a vossa menina queria me
Stanley
salvar.
decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming
Ele
to
tá
a
viciado em
staircase,
Baldur's Gate,
Stanley
amor.
walked
Vou deixar ele
upstairs to
jogando
his
Baldur's
boss's
Gate.
office.
Eu vou pegar o ventilador. Tem como subir? Mas eu vou começar a jogar Baldur's Gate com a Tink e com a Nerissa, quinta-feira agora. É, muito bom. A musiquinha de elevador. Pior que eu gosto de música de elevador. Vocês não gostam? Ai, dá uma vibe bem, tipo... Não estiver misturada, não. Chegou. Oi, filho da puta! Você tá me zoando? É 2845 a senha, né? Nossa, sério, que narrador filho da puta.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk.
Não tô te xingando,
That
mulher.
kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music. Feeling soothed and rejuvenated,
Cara, eu
Stanley
quero
calmly
bater
walked
nesse narrador.
forward into the opened passageway.
Eu quero bater nesse narrador, é sério. Boa noite, amor. O que está desse jogo? Eu não sei, mulher. Tô jogando, eu não sei direito. É que o narrador lembra bastante a... Qual é o nome da menina do portal lá? A máquina? A Gladys, né? Lembra bastante.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
É que não tem outro final. É melhor... Deixa eu ver. Iniciar o jogo novamente. Eu vou pro New Content. Já. Joguei os dois portais.
Hello. This is a recorded message scheduled either by you or a person in your place of work. The purpose of this message is to warn you about the dangers of recorded messages. If at any time you believe you are listening to a recorded message, please terminate it immediately and cease all flow of information from the recorded message into your perceptual sphere. Thank you, and have a pleasant day.
É a narradora do narrador, sabe? Ah, é? Peraí. Dá pra entrar nessa sala? Gostei dessa teoria. Tá, New Content.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
O que ele vai me mostrar? Esse filho da... Mas eu queria que ela aparecesse mais. Eu gostei mais dela. Mulher, cuidado. Por que cuidado?
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Ah!
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel.
The end is
An
never the end
entirely new
again.
experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
The Stanley Parable. Testing 2 printers at the same time.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley
What does it
Parable
even
2,
mean?
now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Abriu aqui a porta. Eu nunca trabalhei em escritório assim. The new content is out. The content part 2 is in. Win-win. The color red.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around...
Tá, peraí, gente. Eu vou jantar rapidinho. Eu já volto, tá? Avisem aqui ao chat que eu já volto. Me deem uma meia hora que eu jantar com o mozão e já volto. Vão avisando aí, já volto, amores. 1 segundo. Jantei, gays. Desculpa a demora. Estou jantada. Olha lá, gente. Lembrando, gente, bora compartilhar a live. Dá sub quem puder, dá pix quem puder. Compartilha a live com todo mundo aí. Muito importante pra mim. Oi, Zequinho. Jantei já. Vocês já jantaram?
Found them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything
Ai, como é
scientific
bom
or
fazer uma
logical.
pausinha pra jantar. Eu volto renovada pra stream. Qual é o símbolo desse computador? É um corvo! You are the sequel. Nossa, essas cores me lembram muito Netflix, não lembra? Preto e vermelho, lembra muito Netflix pra mim. Ah, estamos aqui, gente, a nova série Netflix. Isso é um ônibus? Meu Deus.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
Meu Deus, é eu lá? Concrete Contemplations. O botão diz o nome do jogador que está jogando. The baby's all grown up. Mulher, eu tentei fazer croissant, aí eu pus no forno e lembrei, bicha, tu não sabe fazer croissant, daí ficou uma merda. Mas assim, se precisar de pedra em forma de croissant, eu posso ajudar. Mulher. Mulher virou pedra. Mas é porque tu deixou muito tempo? Mas você deixou muito tempo? Meu Deus, o merchandising do Stanley Parable.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Como é que eu escolho? Ah, aqui.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
Meu Deus. Cara chato. Então não pede opinião, seu filho da puta.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No. No, I've made my decision. We're moving on.
The jump circle.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle. Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece, then.
Nem eu sei direito. É muito... Eu não sei se o Fonfos está entre nós, mas é muito confuso pra mim. É muito confuso. Saída, círculo de salto. Por que tá a mulher aqui? É a mulher dele? Que isso?
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Meu Deus. 1 de 6. Tá bom.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Vai lá, amor. Boa noite, bons sonhos, amor. Mas é literalmente isso, né? Quando você faz todos os achievements, é literalmente assim. Tipo, ai, tu terminou o jogo, parabéns.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Ai, eu não vou pular, não. Não vou pular nisso, não. Boa noite, Júpiter. Voltei, mulheres. A jantinha foi uma meia hora, 40 minutos. A gente conversou. Comemos tranquilamente. Não me senti, tipo, pressionada a comer. Foi de boas. Comi sushi hoje. Henrique pediu. Acho que ele não tava querendo cozinhar. Ai, não. Ai, meu Deus. Não. Eu vi dali, né? Aqui eu não tinha visto. Enjoy the new features. O que é aqui? Aqui atrás.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it will go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Hã? Campeão mundial de configurações, broco infinito, conquista grátis. Trancado. Ai, pior que semana que vem eu vou ter um date no museu com o Henrique. Eu tô animadinha, tá? Porque isso aqui é muito museu, né?
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really
Ainda bem que
want?
com ele, né?
And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Ah, como é que você aperta? Ah, não aperta? Ah.
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim.
Ai, eu não
But of course, in the
acredito.
final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really
Ai, eu não
simulate the full
acredito. Eu pensei
experience
que ele ia
of this
dizer
feature.
lyslys.
Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
É, tá treinando pra RPG.
Jim. Jim.
Yes! You see? What a thrill! What a rush! That was you! The button
Cara,
described
eu tô
you.
puta com ele.
Do it again, do it again.
Ai, eu não acredito que eu tô fazendo isso.
Jim.
It hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the gym button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
O Jim é uma pessoa cis ou trans, chat?
Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much, Jim. I'm putting the gym button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
Ai, que ódio, sério. Que ódio desse narrador. Diga que transou gay, tá? O Jim tem quanto de altura? Qual a nacionalidade do Jim?
I suppose I could allow only people
não
named
binário.
Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
Hoje em dia é não binário, tá? Qual a altura, nacionalidade? Quantos anos Jim tem?
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I am happy to say that after much consideration,
Sim, namoro com o
I've
Henrique, mas ainda não
engineered a
fiz a
clever
realização
solution
sexual,
to
nem
this
silicone.
fundamental
Jim tem
problem
menos de alto
today.
cabelo lá.
It's the Stanley Parable
Garotas
Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
Eu quase cuspi minha comida.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Meu Deus, Ronzinho. A Cristina deu pro Santiago?
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Eu não acredito. Olha esses dois aqui. Aleatório. Red is the new orange. Orange is the new black. Nossa, gente. Aquele dois é bem suspeito. Aqui realmente não deve ser a saída. Mas vamos ver o que tem aqui.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Massa com feijão. Pior que é muito bom. New mug.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience.
O que tá acontecendo?
Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you
the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. Yeah. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2." Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Para. Isso é real?
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Todo final do 1 tem final alternativo com balde. O quê?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. Stanley picked up the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Não fez o final do talk
This
show.
was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
O que eu faço aqui?
And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Acho que eu nunca fiz esse final.
Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
Que isso?
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very
Meus
much.
amigos.
It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it. Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well. Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
Ué. Eles querem que eu não fique com o balde, é isso? Ela já fez o final surreal de Viagem no Tempo. Não.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you.
Não.
Go ahead now, Stanley.
No.
Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
Não, eu não vou me lembrar do bucket.
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The Broom Closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
O que aconteceu?
The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
Gente, o que tá acontecendo? Eita, isso é novo.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Ah, tá. Entendi.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Será que eles fizeram merchandising disso?
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? Or what about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Como é que ele vai fazer aqui? Ah, entendi. Ai, que ódio. Narrador cantando, eu odeio ele. É 2845, né?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark... But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him?
Pura sorte.
Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlys. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it.
I'm sure it will come to me. The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket.
It's
Soothing him,
leaking.
comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous
Gente,
room
os
packed with
finais
television
são os
screens.
mesmos
What
com o
horrible
balde.
secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
É isso?
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Que ódio.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
Eu vi isso. A
No!
gente
He
estava lendo as
screamed into the
reviews
bucket. He
erradas.
couldn't accept it.
Ruins.
His own life in someone else's control? Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
O Bucket é um personagem importante.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working,
Mulher,
all of it
eu
monitored and
fiquei
commanded
assustada
from
com
this
esse
very
final.
place. And as the cold
deixou pouco
reality of his
incomodada.
past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls
He and
for
the
good.
bucket.
Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system. When at last they came to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Vamos terminar então, né?
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away.
É que me dá um susto.
Excitedly,
Eu tô até
the two of them
pensando em
began to
começar a
discuss
jogar
the kind of
FNAF por
life they
causa
wanted to
disso.
live once they stepped through this massive door. The
Se eu vou
bucket wanted to
sobreviver.
learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be
Ai,
freed?
que lenzinha.
An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty. Until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No, no, no. Stanley can't leave this place, not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms, not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Ah, não. Tô puta. Tô puta. Não, tô puta. Tô muito puta. Eu não acredito. Ah, esse pra ser minha hora favorita? Se eu simplesmente não conseguir assistir, me deu uma hora certa de novo? Afinal de contas, eu bem sei quanto você gosta de definir de forma certa, ok? Estou curioso para saber qual o nível de precisão da hora 3 horas da tarde. Vou usar outro controle de deslys para descobrir. Qual a precisão da hora? Não precisa. Sabe, eu só queria dizer que independente da precisão do relógio, estou me divertindo muito ajustando essas configurações. Tenho a impressão que estou aprendendo mais sobre você e sobre suas preferências de configuração. É bom coletar... Eu adoraria que tivéssemos mais controles deslizantes, mas já passamos por todos eles. Talvez eu possa inventar novos controles deslizantes para coletar novos dados sobre você. Não deve ser tão difícil, é isso. Eu vou criar alguns novos. Eles devem estar prontos na próxima vez que você iniciar o jogo. Tá, gente, teve 3 horas de Stanley Parable. Amanhã começa a live com mais. Mas eu tô puta. Eu tô puta, tipo assim... Sei lá, tá? Maia Luna, muito obrigadinha pelo seu Prime. Muito obrigada pela sua preferência. Não se esqueça de mandar seu e-mail no MDM do Instagram ou Twitter pra te mandar um presente, tá? Tipo assim... Tem que acessar Stanley Parable 3? Queer? Gente, a gente tá com 227 subs. 3. Falta 23 pra 250. Será que a gente consegue chegar lá? Bora compartilhar a live. Muito importante pra mim, gente. Go, go, go. Amanhã eu vou fazer um comando que eu quero chegar a 350 subs pagos. Pra ver se a gente consegue também. Mas é isso. Eu acho que agora eu vou pro RP direto. Eu acho que eu não quero LOL, não. Vamos pro RP. Mas, por favor, gente, bora compartilhar a live. É muito importante pra mim. Amanhã eu quero começar de novo com esse Stanley Parable. Acho que a gente vai jogar 1 ou 2 horas. Porque minha cabeça tá tipo explodindo. Caiu ouro 3. Não preciso mais jogar isso, mulher. Mulher. Mas bora, gente. Vou jogar um pouco de RPzinho pra vocês. Vamos ver o que vai acontecer hoje. Eu vou jogar RP, gente, até umas 11. 11 meia-noite, 11h30, tá? Lembrando, gente, tem vídeo no YouTube, no canal principal que a Gaga editou. Sim, mulher, isso é engraçado. Meu Deus, escola abrindo live agora. Mas enfim, bora subir esses subs aí, conto com a ajuda de vocês. A gente às vezes tem que jogar LOLzinho pra, né? O subs... Ah, você tá me... Ah, não, Red M. Ai, Red M, não faz isso comigo. Não faz isso comigo, Red M. Ah, era só o que me faltava. Não, não é nem isso. Eu acho que eu vou ter que reiniciar o PC. Deixa eu ver. Vamos ver. Vamos tentar de novo. Ah, eu não queria ter que fechar a live e abrir de novo. Vamos ver. Nossa, mulher, é que eu não entendo o Red M fazendo esse tipo de coisa, não, viu? Ele tá demorando. Sim, sábado que vem tem o final de Vox Machina. E vai ter o Subatom, né, mulher?